Hello and welcome to Fun Maths, where we make maths fun and easy. Today we are diving into an essential topic in mathematics, ratios. If you have ever compared two quantities, you have already used the ratio. But how do we express, compare, and manipulate ratios in real life? Stick around as we break it all down. What is ratio? A ratio is a way of comparing two or more quantities. It tells us how much of one thing exists in relation to another. Let's take for instance, I have a basket of fruits that contains apples and oranges. And I tell you that for every two apples that I take from that basket, I will take three oranges. If I come and tell you that I ended up picking up six apples, you can easily tell how many oranges I would have picked up in the process because for every two apples, I picked up three oranges. So in the process, since I picked up six apples, I have picked up two apples in three places. It means that I would have picked up three oranges in three places as well, which tells me that I have nine oranges. So it means that the ratio of apple to oranges is simply 2 ratio 3. Now, note, ratios can be written in three different ways. In words like 2 to 3, that's ratio. Or using the colon symbol, 2 ratio 3, using the colon symbol. Or we can also write it in fraction form, 2 over 3. Please note, 2 ratio 3 is not the same thing as 3 ratio 2. So because I said the ratio of apple to oranges is 2 ratio 3, I cannot say the ratio of apples to oranges is 3 ratio 2 because the name apple came first. It means that the ratio for apple must come first. So if I mistake 2 ratio 3 for 3 ratio 2, I have written it wrongly. Let's learn how to express ratios in their lowest term. To express ratio in its lowest term is more like expressing fractions in their lowest term. Let's take an example. A man went out with £100. He spent part of it on clothes, £40 on food item, and he came back with £100 as change. What is the ratio of 1. Money spent on clothes to money spent on food. 2. Money spent on food items to money left as change. 3. The original money to money spent on clothes. For me to successfully write down these ratios, I first of all have to write out what we were given. We know that the original money is £100 and the money spent on food items is £40. Also, we know that he came back with a change of £10. We were not told how much he spent on clothes, but we can easily figure that out because if he spent £40 on food and he spent £10 on, and he has £10 as change, it means that's £50. The extra £50, which was gotten by subtracting that £50 from the £100, will be the money that he has spent on clothes. Now, let's write down our ratio. Firstly, it says money spent on clothes to money spent on food. So because clothes was mentioned first, I would say 50 over or £50 over money spent on food items, which is £40. Now, just like we know how to take fractions to their lowest term, we are going to take this to the lowest term as well. Pounds will take out pounds. 10 in 50 is 5. 10 in 40 is 4. So we are left with 5 over 4, which is the same thing as 5 ratio 4. So we have just taken that ratio to the lowest term. The second one, money spent on food items, which is £40 over money that was left as change, which is £10. So pounds will still take out pounds. 10 in 40 is 4. 10 in 10 is 1. So we are left with 4 ratio 1. So that is the ratio of the money spent on food to the money left as change. Lastly, the original money to the money spent on clothes. The original money is £100 over the money spent on clothes is £50. So pounds will take out pounds. I know that 50 in 100 is 2 and 50 in 50 is 1. So we are left with 2 ratio 1. So we have just simply taken all of these ratios to their lowest term. Next, we are going to compare ratios. And how do you compare ratios? It's same as how we compare fractions. If you have not watched my video on ordering of fractions, I would advise that you do so because I explicitly taught how to order fractions. Here, let's take an example. Which of the following ratio is greater? 2:3 or 3:4? Now, I'll write it out in fraction form. 2/3 or 3/4. For me to be able to compare these ratios, I have to make sure that both ratios have the same denominator. And to do that, I'll find the LCM of the denominator. So the LCM for 3 and 4 is 12. So I'll put this over 12, and I'll also put this over 12. Now, what would I multiply by 3 to get 12? That's simply 4. So if I multiply 2 by 4, I'll have 8. And what would I multiply by 4 to get 12? That's simply 3. So I'll multiply the numerator by 3. I'll also get 9. Now look at the numerators. 8 and 9, which is greater? 9 is greater. It means that, so therefore, 3:4 is greater. That is simply how to compare ratios, by turning them into fractions and solving like you're solving a fraction. Next, we are going to learn how to find missing quantities in a given ratio. Let's take an example. The ratio of red to blue marbles in a bag is 3:5. What that means is that for every 3 red marbles that you pick 5 blue marbles. If there are 30 red marbles, how many blue marbles are there? Instead of counting in threes or in fives, what is best to be done is to use this method. First, the ratio of blue marbles is 5 and the ratio of red marbles is 3. So, because we are looking for the numbers of blue marbles, I will put the ratio of blue marbles first over the the ratio of red marbles. Then multiply that by the number of red marbles that was given. In this case, 3 here is 1, 3 here is 10. So I'm left with 5 times 10, which is simply 50. So it means that we have 50 blue marbles. 50 blue marbles. So the number of blue marbles in the bag will be 50 blue marbles. So what did I do? I simply wrote down the ratio of blue marbles over the ratio of red marbles. Now, why did I put the ratio of blue marbles first? That's because that's the number of marbles that we are looking for, the number of blue marbles. Then I multiplied by the number of red marbles. You can do this for any question and you're sure to get your correct answer. Next, we're going to learn how to increase and decrease in ratio. To find an increase or decrease in a given ratio, express the increased value or the decreased value in the ratio as a fraction of the old value and multiply by the actual value. What this means is, if you are told to increase something in a given ratio or to decrease in a given ratio, the formula to do this for decrease is simply the increased value. So look at the ratio. The one that is smaller, that's the decreased value. Over, then the bigger one is the old value, because we are reducing the old value to become lower. Multiply by the actual value. Then if you are to increase, it is the increased value over the old value multiplied by the actual value. Let's take an example. Increase 63 meters in the ratio 8:7. So because we are increasing, we know that the increased ratio is 8 and the old value is 7. Then we multiply this by the actual value, which is 63 meters. 7 here is 1, 7 here is 9. 9 times 7 is simply 72 meters. So we have just simply increased 63 meters to 72 meters using the ratio 8:7. How did I do this? Because I am increasing, I use the increased ratio over, so the lower one is what it was before. But because I want to increase, so the lower one becomes my old value. Now, let's take another example. Decrease 400 pounds in the ratio 4:5. This time we want to decrease. So it means that the old value is the increased one and the decreased value is the first one. So 4, which is the decreased ratio, over the old ratio, which is 5. Then we are multiplying by 400 pounds over 1. Now, 5 here is 1 and 5 here is 80. 4 times 80 will simply give us 320 pounds. So I have decreased 400 pounds in the ratio 4:5. That is just how to increase and decrease in a given ratio. Please take note. When you want to decrease, the decreased value in the ratio comes first over the old value. But when you want to increase, the increased value comes first over the old value multiplied by the number that you are given, and you get your increase or decrease. Next, we are going to learn how to share or divide using ratio. This is one of the most common questions that is being asked when it comes to ratio. Let's take an example. A sum of £360 was shared between John and Peter. If the ratio of John's share to that of Peter's share is 5:4, what is Peter's share? Now, we want to share an amount of money in a particular ratio. Note, the name that comes first, John, has the first ratio, 5. The name that comes second, Peter, has the second ratio, 4. So to share in a particular ratio, the first thing you need to do is to find your total ratio. And how do you find your total ratio? You simply add up 5 plus 4, and that gives us 9. Next, you know that the total amount that they want to share is £360. To get Peter's share now, you simply use to get Peter's share, we'll simply say Peter's ratio, which is 4. Note, Peter's name comes second, so he has the second ratio 4, over the total ratio, which is 9, multiplied by £360 over 1. Now, 9 in 9 is 1, 9 in 360 is 40. If I multiply 4 times 40, that simply gives us £160. So it means that Peter's share in this given amount is £160 based on the ratio 5:4. Let's take another example. A construction company needs to distribute £60,000 among 3 teams in the ratio 7, ratio 5, ratio 3 based on their contribution to a project. How much does each team receive? So just like we have done before, first thing first, we'll first of all identify the total ratio. And the total ratio is simply 7 plus 5 plus 3, which gives us 15. So the total ratio is 15. And we know that the total amount that they want to share is £60,000. So how much does the first team get? So first team will take the ratio of the first team, which is 7, over the total ratio, which is 15, multiplied by £60,000 over 1. 15 in 15 is 1. 15 in 60,000 is 4,000. Then 7 times 4,000 will simply give us £28,000. The second team will get the second ratio, which is 5, over the total ratio, multiplied by £60,000 over 1. So 15 here is 1, 15 here is 4,000. Then 5 times 4,000 will simply be 20,000. So the second team gets £20,000 based on the ratio. The third team will be 3 over 15 multiplied by £60,000 over 1. 15 divided by 15 is 1. 15 in 60,000 is 4,000. And 3 times 4,000 will simply be 12,000. To find out if you are correct, just simply add up the 3 amounts and it should give you 60,000. So that is how to share based on a given ratio. Practice time. Please kindly pause the video and try out this practice question. I would love to see the answers in the comments. And that's it. We have explored what ratios are, how to simplify and compare them, and even how to use them in real life situations like increases and decreases, as well as in sharing. Ratios are everywhere, from cooking to finance. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more awesome maths content. See you in the next one.